welcome back to You Up for More. I'm Jordana.
And I'm Jared. So good to be back here with you, Jordana, talking about Love is Blind. This is for episodes, or just one episode. This is the wedding episode, the episode 12.
The weddings, it is thank God we had that breakup in the beginning, because otherwise this was going to be the most boring episode of all time. There's nothing more boring than just like a wedding that goes smoothly.
Yeah, I don't know who's here for that. You know, like I always I'm here for, I watch a TV show for drama and for fun and laughs, and there's none of that. It's just ultra serious, two people that I don't know getting married, that I have no and I can understand if someone's like wedding, in their wedding mode, that they're like maybe crying with it. And they see themselves. I don't see myself through these weddings. I don't know about you.
No. And I think that like these couples, you knew were going to, it didn't feel like we had the Clay and AD one where
a wild one.
It was kind of like, will they, won't they? And then they got, I think, did he just, he went down the aisle?
He went down the aisle and he proposed that they be a situationship, which is like the craziest ending. Like, I don't think it gets enough credit how crazy that ending was.
That's what made that season also like pretty good.
Yeah. We want drama. We want laughs. We want to put ourselves in the position of like a crazy scenario that we don't really have to go through.
And he waited to break up with her till they got down the aisle.
He didn't even break up. He just said, I'd love to see where this goes. Let's Netflix and chill. That was his presentation.
Which again, under ordinary circumstances, would make a lot of sense. If this were just a random couple in the real world, totally get it. This is Love is Blind. That's not what you're signing up for.
Well, yeah, there is this definitive, we have to get married. And that kind of brings us to Ramses. And
the only interesting thing that happened this episode.
Right. Him and Marissa are having this fight that was continued from the end of the last episode 11, and he's ending it. And it's becomes clearer and clearer that he's ending it in the way, I guess to me, it was the most relatable fight I've seen on this show.
I felt so bad. It was brutal.
I felt bad. It was
I kind of felt bad for him too, even though I don't like him.
People are going to really hammer him. He's going to get crushed. And we're taping this before it comes out. There's things in this fight that we're going to go over, but I just think when I looked at it...
I thought he did it a lot better than Tim, personally.
Well, yeah, Tim created a villain out of the facts that he had. And that's never... what Ramses did was a relatable breakup to me.
Yeah.
Like, I was watching Ramses. We're very different people, but we break up the same way. Where he's looking at, okay, the next step is coming. I have
2 days.
In 2 days, which is forced by the show, but also he could have said to her, I'm not ready to get married, but I want to stay together.
Which he didn't say.
He didn't say.
Right.
He has made his decision. So I'm not here to make myself look better. I can look at Ramses and the way he ended this and go, I get it.
I actually thought that was a more bold move, because I think it would have been... He would look better for the cameras if he said that. I think.
Right.
And he didn't do that. So I actually think that he was being honest. He was like, I'm not going to pretend that I want to continue dating and not ready for marriage.
He did the male thing, which is, I did it all on paper. This is a yes or no decision. I'm going to go with no. And I've come to that. And she even says to him something that women have said to me in my past. You've already decided. You've already come to this conclusion.
Right.
There's nothing I can say. And that's what's so heartbreaking for Marissa, who you have kind of Ramses, who's gone from fun, romantic Ramses, fun, anything can go, to logical Ramses.
Right.
And she's kind of sitting there going, what happened? How am I crazy? And I understood her perspective. She wasn't wrong for going, you're romantic and fun, and you're seeing me as the one, and now I'm here, and you're logical?
Yeah, I mean, and her everything she said I thought was so relatable on the getting broken up with side by women, where she's like, this is like, to me, you're the one. To me, I saw it, so I must be delusional,
right?
Or I must be how am I? She's blaming herself and being like, how could I have thought that this was happening, that we were in love and that this was great, and you don't feel that way. It does make you question your own sanity. in
Right.
some
And then when he
ways.
tries to give her an answer, so he has no tangible answer. That's when I really related to him because it felt like if I'm looking at Ramses from afar and I'm trying, listen, this
I
isn't
think
me saying he's right or wrong.
uh,
I'm just saying it seemed like someone who had no plan for his future and he couldn't get on board with like just locking arms with a woman and going, let's walk down this path I haven't thought about twice.
I actually think that he gave more than most men do when
Okay.
someone asks that question. Because she asked, like, what is it that you keep talking about? Like, we're not like an incompatibility, or you keep
Mhm.
saying there's like something, and she's getting frustrated because she's like, you're not giving me any, like, you're not
Right.
saying anything, you're not giving me any examples. And then he says the thing about the energy,
Right.
which, I mean, you didn't like her energy when you first met her.
No,
Right?
but
So,
the thing I didn't like about her energy was that it just felt like it felt like it felt kind of like not in reality.
but they're not in reality.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But she was like she was kind of having fun with this thing in a way that like marriage didn't feel like it was coming so soon.
Right. Well, I mean, it's all in such a short period of time. So like the honeymoon phase is like a week,
Right.
and then like the next phase of your relationship, okay, like it's time to get down to business is the next week. But when he says it's your energy, and he was like, you when you get sick, you're sort of like out for the day, and like all these
Mhm.
other things, which were like tangible things, which I do think most guys don't do. And it's because it sounds insulting.
Right.
You're
Well,
too much.
and then
Too
she
much.
goes,
He said it was too much.
it was too much, which this is what he'll get crushed for.
I thought it was great that he said that.
Well,
personally,
I'm
'cause
happy you did.
It felt honest.
I took the too much thing as him not having anything else to say. Like, and he even says, he goes, that's not, like he tries to take it back.
Well, because she's trying to like get into it.
Right.
She's like, but I wasn't too much when you met me in the pods. Like when you were
Right.
saying,
Well, then he's like, and then that's where it goes to him being logical Ramses versus like, yeah, we were having fun in the pods and this was like exactly what you're looking for. And now it's like, well, will you be married to it forever? And he's like, oh, okay. So I guess I'll have to like do this forever now. And like,
yeah, that's the show.
right. Well,
Right.
that's the thing.
That's why she said like you shouldn't have come on the show.
Right. And that's when I was agreeing with her. Like, to me, the reason Garrett is boring is the reason he's on the show.
Right.
He's like, I have businesses. The only thing like
scientist.
I'm a scientist. I have like I have a cubby hole open for a woman who can join me in life.
Mm.
And it's an empty cubby. And I just got to put a woman there that fits this cubby hole.
My light's on.
Light is on,
Right.
as the Sex and the City tale goes. I think Ramses comes on this show like, I can get married if I meet the one. I meet the one. We'll see.
He's already been married.
And right, and he says he basically comes back from this conversation with an in-law, or
Right.
it was like
Or
his aunt,
friends or his aunt or something like that.
One conversation, he's like, I didn't realize how much I hurt her.
That part seemed like bullshit to me.
Well, to me, that was what he was leaning on of like, oh God, if I'm wrong, I am going to like really mentally scar this person, which he's going to do anyway.
Right. To me, it was like, you're already hurting her now. What's the difference? Like, to me, that was like the lame bullshit excuse that makes him look better. To say like, I need to end this because I don't know. And it's going to hurt you. And I don't want to hurt you. So it's about me
Right.
being a good guy and not hurting you by ending this now. The part about the energy I actually thought was like the most honest, real part that doesn't make him look good, but actually is like the real reason. And that's the hard part when you get broken up with, is like why it's so hard to move on, is you just keep going over the situation over and over again, being like, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? Like what was it that about us that he didn't think was compatible?
When he said the energy thing, it's funny, my brain went to like a different place where I was like, that's him saying, I don't want to be married. Because like when you talk about like energy and it's not matching, it's like, oh no, you don't want to deal with someone else being your responsibility. Like to me, Ramses is this, based on what he's presented here, this open liberal, like we could, I think like the reason him and Marissa seem to make sense is they were both kind of like hippy dippy, ultra liberal people that we could go anywhere on a Saturday.
But if that was the case, why not just date her. If it
But-
wasn't about her personality,
Right.
and it was just about like making this intense decision, why not say
I don't think you can go backwards. I think he's like, I'd rather start over than go backwards with you and have. I think what he's realizing that every relationship ends up being somewhat conservative, like and like ends up being a guy and a girl
By
having
nature.
a kid, and we have to now enter into this societal capitalist trap that I hate so much.
Right.
Like, because this is based on what he's told us, and
Yeah.
like, you know, I
Weird
think,
choice to go on the show then, where
Well,
you
I
get
think
married in 3 weeks.
right?
Yeah.
I think it's interesting though that he's. I was like, it was like we were watching him realize that marriage, like, is done very kind of one way. You know, like with
Right.
dealing with her mom, and like he couldn't just like not like she calls her mom as much as she says. She probably said in the pods that her and her mom don't get along very well. I would assume. And then at her toughest moment, she calls the mom.
Well, she's feeling sad.
Right.
She needs someone who loves her.
No shame on calling your mom, but I think
I
Ramses.
was scared, but I was scared of her mom when she called the mom.
It's so funny you say that. When I heard her mom was on the phone, I was like, what's gonna happen?
Right.
Like it
I
was
was
as
like,
if she could have
is she
jumped
gonna
through.
yell at him?
Right?
Or is she gonna-
I was like
And even the mom's response, she was like, "What?"
right when she said what? I was like putting on a seatbelt that didn't exist. Like I
Right.
was like, what's going on
Like,
here?
you better run.
Right.
Um,
But I do think, because I was like looking at him, I'm like, I don't think he realized, like, I'm taking an empathetic Ramses side here where I'm like, when he had nothing to say and he's talking about energies, it's like, well, the idea that like she's having a bad day and like that's just a wife. Like, I don't know what
Maybe
wife
you want
you're going
someone
to
who's more positive all the time.
I don't think that exists. I don't think humans are made to be that way.
Right.
I think
Well,
he's
not willing to compromise.
Right. And I think when you're a year
He
in
wants
with
sex with no condoms.
Right.
With someone who is in a good mood every day.
Right. And that, you know what that's called? Being single. So
That's the dream.
That's the
what you
dream.
got
Yo,
right there.
single sex, no commitment. Oh, we're just
Good
out
mood.
here. Right. Money doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, in his world, I think I'm putting a lot of like maybe bias. I hope don't sound like I am, because he's said all these things.
Right.
Like his belief system kind of matches someone who doesn't believe in the
Yeah.
institution
And
of marriage. So why go on this show?
And you feel bad for her because she's like kind of bargaining with him, like trying
Right.
to plead with him. And she says like, "Are you sure?" And to me, like asking, "Are you sure?" Like when you have that 3-minute long hug, and she's like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, he doesn't even answer. But to me, it's like, I'm not sure is a no,
Right.
right? Like you're gonna marry someone who says I'm not sure. Like you want him to be.
But that's why
we like when someone's sure either way. Like,
right. But that's why they're not going to be dating. You're like, why wouldn't he date? Because now he's like, that's more work than he even wants right now.
Right.
It just felt like someone who didn't want to be working.
Yeah.
You know, like, and working in the sense of relationship working. And I kind of like, it is funny. Like when I saw myself in Ramses, I'm like, yeah, this is a confidence thing. Like he's not confident enough he can do the next step. He's not confident enough that he will be fine with the days she's going to be, you know, in a bad mood. And again, when he didn't explain what they make, and she even agrees to it, which I felt bad too. Like I felt bad that she was kind of like subservient to his views of her being too much or being
She
a
wants
pain
to
in
try.
the ass.
She's trying to work with him in the hopes that she can turn the conversation around.
Right, but he didn't even have like if he had said, on this day you spent the day crying in the closet.
You wanted her to do it to him.
What? Yeah, I just wanted to know what. I don't think she's that difficult.
Right.
Based
she
on
seems
what
like
was
very open and willing to work on things and
Right.
positive. Right.
So that's why I was like, give me an example, and he couldn't, which meant I don't even think he wants to.
To me, what I was hearing was like, I just don't like your personality that much now that I've known you for 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And that's what I heard. But
Right.
maybe I'm projecting into like what I would, the worst thing I would think in a breakup.
Right. I was interpreting as I don't want.
You literally said it's not you, it's me.
Right. After saying it's you.
Yeah.
So this is a guy who's confused. Like I just don't think he knows what he wants. And
How would you have done this breakup?
the same exact way. Minus the too much thing. I
Right.
think in my older age, I would never say that a woman's too much. Like
Even if you thought it.
I just don't believe in the premise because one person, too much
For
based
me.
on
I'm
what?
saying
For
for
me.
me.
For me, to me, it's a mismatch is a better way to say it. We are not a
That's
match.
a better way to say
Right.
it. That's a more like,
but
but
for
what
me
you
to
really
cast,
mean is you're too much for me.
I guess. I don't know.
That's why I liked it because I thought it was refreshing because the thing that you're saying is true, but it's also like not that tangible. And what he said was more tangible. So
Right.
even if I don't like agree that she's too much, I still think if she's too much for him and that's what don't ask questions you don't want the answer to. Like
Right.
that's the answer he gave.
I listen.
I respected the honesty because I think that's kind of what we're looking for to help us like move on from it. I also thought she did a great job of like being sad rather than angry, which
She
is a
was
much
really
better look.
sad. I felt for her.
You knew he was gonna feel like shit for like several weeks after.
Right.
Because that's the thing. You sometimes if you get broken up with and you go angry, the person leaves and they're like, "So glad I did that."
Right.
If you're like crying in their arms for 3 minutes, that's
really
gonna
thought
ruin
this out.
That's gonna ruin their month.
Well, it almost ruined my month for other people that I've seen do the same thing. I was like brought back.
Right.
I will say.
How do you prefer someone react when you break up with them?
I don't even
Obviously,
know
ideal
anymore.
is like, I was gonna break up with you anyway.
Right. Well, I thought the same thing.
But I think sad is a second.
Sad is pretty bad. I felt for her, and here's the thing: it felt honest.
Mm-hmm.
The breakups sometimes at the end of this show, it feels like two people trying to get their brand together.
Like the Nick and Hannah one.
Nick and Hannah were two people trying to
get as far as they could on the show.
Right. And speak to the audience at the end with how they acted. Nick went full nothing behind his eyes, which was Nick being like, don't be a villain, be a good guy, just get out of here, be nothing.
Right.
Hannah went full attack, make him the villain so that, the women of America will see I'm fighting for them. They weren't breaking up to break up. They were breaking up to save face.
Mm-hmm.
Ramses and Marissa felt like two people breaking up.
Yeah, it felt
in,
like
in
a real
an honest way.
She really felt like she really wanted this.
And he felt like someone who had no good answers, but knew it wasn't for him. And that to me was more real.
Totally. Question for you.
Sure.
If you go to someone's apartment to break up with them, how long do you think you should stay?
Oh, as long as they want me to stay.
As long as they want you to stay.
Anytime I've gone
How
to
long do you want to leave? How long do you want to
I
leave?
think it could be done in 20 minutes.
So 20 minutes in
I
and
think
out.
20 minutes, you're done. 20 minutes from let's talk to I think I should go.
I think I should go.
I think I got to go. And then you're going to get an email, read this, titled Read This, please read.
From you or
from them? You'll
'cause
get the
they didn't
follow-up
get- 'cause-
email. They didn't get it all out then.
Right.
They were surprised.
Do you have those in a special folder?
I have
on
a
your
please
Gmail?
read folder. It was so relatable. I was like watching this going like, oh my God, like I
Yeah.
have this video in my head.
That was what this show is about. That's why we love this show. I think that was
Right.
the best. That was the best part of that episode.
Well, this is the show. I think Love is Blind. Would you say it's the best dating reality show?
I do think in a lot of ways it is. I
How
don't know.
so?
I don't know if I've seen every. I think it's definitely better than Love Island. Don't come for me.
I think it's the most real.
Mhm.
I think it's like I don't think there's another dating show where you see two people
Right.
like and
There's not another dating show where they give people their phones.
Right. They have their phones,
Yeah.
the family, the friends, the living together. Like, I don't think
Everything but the hosts.
We've made fun of the show for like missing the moments where they have these arguments and then they like show them after. I don't know how they would get the arguments unless they literally like did Big Brother. Like,
Right.
I can understand how they miss these arguments.
They must leave them alone at some point.
And that almost makes it even more real because I do wish they would find a way to like get confessionals and talk to them about what happened. But it does seem the most realistic version of two people trying to figure their shit out.
Right. But here's the other thing, because you're like, as soon as you leave these pods, you're essentially with that person for several weeks, like just the two of you. That's harder to fake than like on The Bachelor, or you're in a house, like
Right.
you could be going on a fun date and like not really give a shit.
Right. I always thought that this show was literally like this show was showing what it was like for the Bachelor to like the next month of the Bachelor's life after choosing the woman.
Yes.
And or male or the woman.
But even
choosing
this
the
is
man.
even more intense because they have to live together.
Right. So like it is this breakup, the Ramses Marissa's breakup, most of all like showed why this show can be really good. And then you go to the weddings. I guess we'll go to the weddings. Is there anything else?
I have nothing really to say about the weddings.
Yeah, the
They
weddings.
get married.
I mean, we have one card. We start with Tyler and Ashley A. And Tyler and Ashley, most of the news of this wedding is going to be off-camera stuff, okay? Candace is our leading expert on Love is Blind.
Right. The ex-wife,
rumors and ex-wives.
the mother of the children is coming out.
Tyler has 3 children with another woman.
Yes.
Which
he said on
which
the show.
was said on the show. We are learning more.
It's not
each
quite
and
as he
every
presented
day.
it.
Right. The more I learn, the messier it gets, the more I can't believe he didn't say anything to Ashley. So I guess if you watch this, there's 2 ways to watch the Tyler-Ashley wedding. There's one way where it's like you only watch the show and you're like, wow, good for this couple.
Right.
Yeah, sure, he may have some kids that he donated, but they're out there and they have their own family. And then, and I'm happy they're happy. There's another way to watch this where you know all this stuff and you go, I need to see them at the reunion.
Oh, right. Which is like, I guess knowing that's kind of how I was watching because I've heard of all the stuff that came out. So I'm excited to hear him address it. I feel like maybe there's some maybe redeemable way to spin this. It just seems like so too stupid for anyone to think that they could get away with, if it's how the ex presented it, I just don't really see how he could do this and not think that would come back to haunt him.
To boil this down, the ex made a TikTok where basically he was with her and had these children, and then the day the show was starting, he like left to start the show, and now he's being asked for money and things like that. So like it gets weirder and weirder.
And he told Ashley that he wasn't sure if the kids knew what he looked like, even though he was living with them.
Beyond this, and this is a bad retelling of what has been going on online. The problem I have, and so I'm like very much looking forward to their moment at the reunion where we can get some answers. Because maybe, like you said, maybe there's something we don't know that they go, because Ashley seems like such a present and like with it person.
Mm-hmm.
And she even says as they're leading up to their wedding, like, she's like, something could happen. Remember, she has that thing where she's like, and I'm like half expecting like the kids to run out and be like, Daddy, you know, like, and they don't. And she's like, something could happen. And I'm like, and I'm watching that and I'm like, okay, I would love to hear how it went since the show stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And just have we met these kids? Have you met them? And then it was explained more and you've come to terms with it. Was there something we don't know? I would just, you know, and I'm, you know, the thing I'm like, the problem with a bad host, as the Lachey's have proven themselves to be, I don't trust them to ask the right questions at all.
For them to facilitate this, they're like, might as well have AI chatbot host the reunion.
Like I'm thinking of like Vanessa going, so are you gonna have babies?
Right.
Like as we're like, what about the ones he already has?
Yeah, no, I agree. They're not equipped. I don't trust them, but I'm intrigued to see it. I want to hear from them in their own words. Also, one more thing about the Ashley and Tyler thing was that her dad was really annoying me. Ashley's dad, while they're waiting to go down the aisle.
What did he do?
He kept saying like, you know, like sometimes you just like want to leave because things are bad, but like don't leave. And I'm like, didn't he like leave their like? He's doing this little speech before they're supposed to. You could tell she's like getting annoyed.
Yeah,
like in her face, because before this she talks about how like her mom and her stepdad.
Right.
And the dad just keeps saying how like she's trying to give like a lesson, but he's not acknowledging that he's done it or like apologizing and like he's really like emotional. And she's like, I could tell that I was annoyed on her behalf.
Yeah.
And it's like exactly how I would be in that.
She did make mention that he was going to lead her down the aisle and then give her to her mom.
Right.
Who,
She seems to have a lot of resentment towards him.
Yeah, and it's nice that he was involved at all, I guess.
But that speech would have annoyed me.
What do you think of Tyler's friends?
I mean, if he's got kids, these people don't seem to know about them either or care about them. They were talking about how he's like a player. He's like, finally, he's like.
There was one guy
down.
that was like the friend you should not invite to the wedding. Like, there was one guy who's like, I don't know about you, but like, this seems crazy to me. Like, he's like, the difference between the male-female friends before these
Well, I mean,
weddings,
how would you be at your friend's Love is Blind wedding?
I guess I'd be fucking around.
I think that would be
right. I'd be making
You'd be
fun
like,
of
you?
them. Right, this is what you're doing, huh?
Right.
You know, like it's just so funny. Like it is. Women kind of like get in line. They're like, "This is the wedding. I better
Buckle
be good.
up.
Buckle
Right.
up.
Don't
be
fuck
there.
this up for me."
Right.
Yeah.
Be there for her. Say the right things. You're a queen. Every time she walks in, you know, like, and
You gotta
then,
do that.
Yeah, and it's like it is funny that the guys feel no rules.
Right. They're like, I was told there would be an open bar
Right,
here.
that's all that matters.
Yeah.
So then we go to Garrett and Taylor.
Yes.
The
nerds.
the king and queen of boring.
Yes.
What did you think of their wedding? Fine.
I had no notes on their wedding. Like,
Her dad came and was like the coolest guy ever.
yeah, I can see why that's probably why he didn't want to be on camera, because he's like, I don't want to be associated with this. Stupid show.
Really?
I could see why he'd be like, I'm like a normal. I have like a real job. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want. Like,
It felt
I don't
like
want, he felt like he's like, oh, I don't want my coworkers like talking about like my daughter being like, I was like on Love Is Blind. Like, I just kind of feel like that would be like a normal
Yeah.
hesitancy towards being on the show.
it is normal. I just like couldn't believe that he was like
He seemed
as
great.
personable as he was. Like him
More
and Garrett.
personal than Garrett. Yeah.
Absolutely. I was like, this guy's not like Garrett at all. And
Yeah.
then it is funny that like men have to do stuff. Like they had to do the bow tie together.
Oh yeah.
And he was helping him with it. It was like them solving this bow tie together, like was where they like talked the most. Like it was just an interesting male moment where, you know, and it also made sense that when he was referenced earlier in the show, Garrett was like always kind of jokey about him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was always kind of like, he seems like he's okay. You know, like it never felt like a bigger deal than it was, and it wasn't.
Right. I mean, there was no drama to be made out of these family relationships, I guess.
Yeah. And then that was the end of the show. I mean,
That
like,
was it. So, what are you most excited to see on the reunion? Are you excited to see the Tyler?
Tyler,
thing?
I mean,
I want to hear from Steven.
Steven,
I'd like to hear from like his processed thoughts on this. I want to see him.
he's going to come with a statement, or he's not going to come at all. I mean, what was the guy last year? Trevor was the guy that really came and like it didn't go
it's
well.
like a cautionary tale.
Yeah, and he is like, if I'm Steven, I'm watching Trevor.
Yeah.
If I'm going to come, I'm watching Trevor and I'm doing whatever he didn't do.
I'm going to borrow money from a girl I'm dating to hire a publicist to tell me 5 things I should repeat
Right.
over and over again at the reunion.
You know, and I'm also not looking forward to Leo at all.
Yeah. So you think he's going to come? He must.
Absolutely. This guy's all over social media. This guy doesn't stop. He's making top 3 things I've learned on a reality show list. She's going to come on, Brittany. You know, I actually, like, as much as I wanted to hear about, like, what happened in Miami, they've already proven themselves of being, like, not a very trusting storyteller with that stuff. So, like, I'm actually, like, annoyed with them before we even get them.
I could agree. I don't think they're not going to, it's just going to be them defending themselves and trying to make them look as good as possible.
Right. I don't think we're going to get, like, an honest tale. Nick and Hannah, they both seem like Hannah has handled
I feel like they're
this.
going to fight.
They're going to fight. Hannah has handled this in as messy a way as you could possibly imagine on social media. All of her socials.
By getting thin?
She got thin, and it's all her, like, kind of making fun of it. She seems to think she's funny. Like someone told her she's funny when I think she's just made people feel uncomfortable for a long time. So people have laughed like in her presence.
Well,
but
she's one of those girls that would be like, it's funny because it's true, or like I'm a bitch, so like it's like that's like like you can't take my like jokes.
Right. If you're not a bitch, then who's a bitch?
Right.
You know, like it's just I don't know. Her whole social media thing has like not been a good look, and her comment section is like people are just mean. Like
To her.
Yeah, and she's kind of like, it's almost like she's a WWE heel. Like she's like inviting it. Like it's almost as like she's going on stage and being like, look at all these losers in Sacramento. And they're all like, bah!
Right. Well, that's what people do on like TikTok with like the negative comments. It's not very original.
No.
But I do think in the same way kind of women are going to come for Ramses, that Hannah is definitely, if you're a certain kind of guy, you see Hannah and you want to like take out all your shit on her.
Right.
Understandably in some ways, like she didn't have a great look, but I do think like she's going to get all the worst, angriest men who are also unemployed coming for her also.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, she's also not employed. Like
that's true.
Yes. Like we always forget this. Like I had someone, I put out a TikTok about it and someone was like, oh, she's like made her own way. And I'm like,
she quit her job to come on the show.
She's not she didn't create Spanx. Like, what are we talking about? So I don't know. Are you looking forward to anything specific? Like, is there any?
All the things we just, yeah. I'm pumped. I think it'll be
good season, fun season.
I'd like to see if Tim has anything to say for himself. As you know, I'm very anti-Tim.
Yeah. That's okay. I to go back to the Tim thing.
Okay.
I don't think it's interesting that like nappers really united behind you.
Yeah.
But this isn't an anti-nap argument.
Nap pack.
The nap pack.
Yes.
This isn't anti-nap by me.
Yeah, it is, because you said it's the fact that someone would do that is rude, so rude that it warrants a breakup.
Jordana, if we're gonna go back to it, okay.
Sorry, not to put words in your mouth.
If I had one day where I need you,
then say that.
I think that was said. No,
it doesn't sound like he said anything that day. He just kind of like bottled it up, put it in his little breakup reasons jar, and then brought it out like a week or so later.
I
didn't even give her a chance to remedy the situation. That's what she said. She's like, why don't you just, how would I know if something bothers you if you didn't tell me?
This was her chance though. Because even on I guess they almost broke up in Cabo.
Right.
So like, I don't know.
Tim was always almost breaking up with her throughout the entire thing. I just think if he was going to do that, fine. Don't tell her. Don't read that whole thing to her dad with the MS. I just thought that was like,
it's a tough breakup.
That was a bad look for him. I was like,
do you think she told her dad that they broke up, or like,
I don't know.
She probably waited.
I felt really bad.
Because she wouldn't tell him about the engagement.
Yeah.
So she's probably got another plan for the breakup.
Well, we'll find out on the reunion, right? If he knows.
Yep. Well, we'll be back.
We'll be back for the final reunion episode.
Subscribe to the channel.
Subscribe, follow us, rate, review, do it all.
Boom.
The U Up podcast is produced by Belle Roman and Candice Maniga. Edited by Belle Roman. Social media by Candice Maniga. Guest booking by Ali Friedlander. VP of podcast is Chris Allen. And be sure to follow U Up at u.up.podcast.